When I looked out the window at 1 in the morning and saw what my son and daughter-in-law were doing in the backyard, my blood ran cold. I stood there in the darkness of the guest room, my hand pressed against the glass, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The motion sensor light had flickered on, illuminating the yard in harsh white light. And there they were, my son Kevin and his wife Amber, digging, in the middle of the night, in the pouring rain. But it wasn't just the digging that made my heart stop. It was what was beside them, a large heavy-looking bag, dark, wrapped in plastic, about the size of a person. I felt my knees go weak. My mind raced. This couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare. But the sound of the shovel hitting wet earth was real. The rain was real. And the fear crawling up my spine was very, very real. I looked back at the bedroom where my 2 grandchildren were sleeping. Sweet little Emma, 7 years old, and Tyler, just 5. Innocent, trusting, asleep in their beds while their parents were outside doing what? I had to get them out of there. Now, my name is Margaret Foster. I'm 61 years old and I've lived in Portland, Oregon my whole life. I raised 3 children on my own after my husband, Jack, passed away from cancer when our youngest was just 6. It wasn't easy, but I did it. I worked 2 jobs, kept food on the table, and made sure my kids knew they were loved. Kevin is my oldest. He's 34 now. He was always a good kid. Quiet. Responsible. He helped me take care of his younger siblings when Jack died. He got good grades. Went to college. Became an accountant. I was so proud of him. He met Amber when he was 28. She worked as a receptionist at his firm. She was pretty. Blonde hair. Big smile. Always dressed nicely in blazers and skirts. She seemed sweet at first. A little quiet. A little reserved. But Kevin was crazy about her. They got married a year later. Small ceremony at a hotel downtown. I was there. Kevin's siblings were there. Few friends. Amber's family didn't come. She said they lived far away and couldn't make it. I thought it was odd, but I didn't push. They had Emma 2 years after the wedding. Then Tyler 3 years after that. Beautiful children. Smart. Kind. They looked like Kevin, dark hair, brown eyes, his gentle smile. I tried to be a good grandmother. I'd babysit when Kevin and Amber needed a break. I'd bring the kids gifts. Take them to the park. Read them stories. Emma loved books about princesses. Tyler loved dinosaurs. But over the past 2 years something changed. Kevin and Amber became distant. They stopped inviting me over as much. When I'd call, they'd give short answers. We're busy. Not a good time. Maybe next week. When I did see the kids, they seemed different. Quieter. More withdrawn. Emma, who used to be so chatty and full of energy, barely spoke. Tyler would cling to me and not want to let go when it was time for me to leave. I asked Kevin if everything was okay. "We're fine, Mom," he'd say. "Just stressed with work. You know how it is." But I didn't believe him. A mother knows when something's wrong. Then 3 weeks ago, Kevin called me. "Mom, Amber and I need to go out of town for the weekend. Work thing. Can you watch the kids?" "Of course," I said. I was thrilled. I hadn't spent real time with Emma and Tyler in months. "We'll drop them off Friday evening. We'll be back Sunday night." When Friday came, Kevin and Amber brought the kids to my house. Emma had a small backpack. Tyler was clutching his stuffed dinosaur. They both looked tired. "Be good for Grandma," Amber said, barely looking at them. Kevin kissed their heads. "We'll be back soon." And they left. The weekend with the kids was wonderful. We made cookies. Watched movies. I read them stories at bedtime. But I noticed things. Emma flinched when I raised my hand to brush her hair. Tyler asked if I was going to lock him in the closet, if he was bad. My heart broke. "Sweetheart, I would never do that. Why would you think that?" He just shrugged and looked away. Sunday night came and went. Kevin and Amber didn't show up. I called. No answer. I texted. Nothing. Monday morning, Kevin finally called. "Mom, something came up. Can you keep the kids a few more days?" "Kevin, what's going on?" "Nothing. Just, please. We'll explain when we pick them up." I kept the kids for 3 more days. Then Kevin called again. "Mom, we're back. But can you bring the kids to our place instead? We have some things to sort out here." I didn't like it, but I agreed. I packed up Emma and Tyler and drove them to Kevin and Amber's house. It was a nice house. 2-story. In a quiet suburban neighborhood. White siding. A big backyard. When we arrived, Amber answered the door. She looked exhausted. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were red. "Thanks for bringing them," she said, barely looking at me. "Is everything okay?" "Fine. Just tired." Kevin appeared behind her. "Hey, Mom. Thanks for watching them." "Kevin, can we talk?" "Not right now. We're swamped. Maybe later." "But, Mom, please." "Not now." I looked at Emma and Tyler. They were standing by the door staring at the floor. They didn't look happy to be home. "Okay," I said quietly. "But call me if you need anything." I left. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very, very wrong. 2 days later, Kevin called again. "Mom, can you come stay with us this weekend? We could use the help. Amber's not feeling well." I agreed immediately. I packed a bag and drove to their house Friday evening. When I arrived, Amber was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. She looked pale. Sick. Kevin was in the kitchen making dinner. The kids were upstairs. "What's wrong with Amber?" I asked. "Just a bug. She'll be fine." I stayed in the guest room that night. The house was quiet. Too quiet. At around midnight, I heard voices. Whispers. I got up and peeked out into the hallway. Kevin and Amber were in their bedroom. The door was cracked open. I heard Amber say, "We can't keep doing this." Kevin replied, "We don't have a choice." I went back to bed. But I couldn't sleep. And then at 1 in the morning I heard something. A sound outside. I got up and looked out the guest room window. That's when I saw them. In the backyard. Digging. In the rain. And that bag. That terrible heavy bag. I stood frozen at the window, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The rain was coming down steadily, and the motion sensor light cast harsh shadows across the yard. Kevin was knee-deep in a hole, shoveling frantically. Amber stood beside him holding a flashlight, looking around nervously like she was watching for something. Or someone. And that bag. That dark, plastic-wrapped bag lying on the wet grass beside the hole. It was long. Heavy. The way it sagged in the middle made my stomach turn. I backed away from the window, my hand over my mouth. My mind was racing. What were they doing? What was in that bag? Why were they burying it in the middle of the night? I thought about calling the police. But what would I say? My son is digging a hole in his backyard? That wasn't a crime. But everything about this felt wrong. Deeply, terribly wrong. I thought about the kids. Emma and Tyler, sleeping innocently down the hall. Were they safe here? Was I safe here? I crept out of the guest room and quietly walked down the hallway to the children's bedroom. I opened the door slowly. Emma was asleep in her twin bed, her stuffed bunny tucked under her arm. Tyler was in his toddler bed, curled up with his dinosaur. They looked so peaceful, so small, so vulnerable. I couldn't leave them here. Not with whatever was happening in that backyard. I went back to the window. Kevin and Amber were still out there. Kevin had stopped digging. He was bending down, grabbing one end of the bag. Amber grabbed the other end. Together they lifted it. It was heavy. I could tell by the way they struggled. By the way Kevin's face twisted with effort. They lowered the bag into the hole. My blood ran cold. I felt dizzy. I gripped the windowsill to steady myself. What was in that bag? I watched as Kevin started shoveling dirt back into the hole, covering it. Amber stood there, shivering in the rain, her arms wrapped around herself. It took them about 20 minutes to fill the hole completely. Then Kevin smoothed the dirt over with the back of the shovel. Amber bent down and placed some rocks and leaves over the disturbed earth, trying to make it look natural. When they were done, they stood there for a moment just looking at the ground. Then Amber turned and walked toward the house. Kevin followed, carrying the shovel. I heard the back door open, heard them come inside, heard the sound of their footsteps on the stairs. They were going to their bedroom. I stood in the dark guest room trying to decide what to do. I couldn't confront them. Not now. Not in the middle of the night with the kids asleep. But I couldn't stay here either. I couldn't pretend I hadn't seen what I just saw. I waited until I heard their bedroom door close. Then I quietly went back to the children's room. I gently shook Emma awake. "Grandma," she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. "Shoo. It's okay, sweetheart. But we need to go." Right now. Go where? To my house. It's a surprise. But we have to be very quiet, okay? She looked confused but nodded. Picked up Tyler. He was still half asleep, clutching his dinosaur. Grandma, he whispered. It's okay, buddy. We're going on an adventure. I carried Tyler and held Emma's hand as we crept down the stairs. My heart was racing. If Kevin or Amber heard us, if they came out and asked what I was doing. But they didn't. The house was silent. I grabbed my purse from the guest room, my car keys, my phone. Then I carefully opened the front door and led the kids outside. The rain had stopped, but everything was wet. The air smelled like earth and grass. I put the kids in the back seat of my car, buckled them in and got behind the wheel. My hands were shaking as I started the engine. Grandma, why are we leaving? Emma asked, her voice small and scared. It's okay, honey. Everything's okay. We're just going to have a sleepover at my house. I pulled out of the driveway and drove away. I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see Kevin and Amber running after us. But no one came. When we got to my house, I brought the kids inside and settled them on the couch with blankets and the TV on low. They fell back asleep within minutes. I sat in the armchair across from them, staring at my phone. I needed to call someone. The police. Someone. But what would I say? What had I actually seen? A bag. A hole. My son and daughter-in-law acting suspicious. That wasn't enough. Was it? I thought about calling Kevin, demanding an explanation. But I was afraid. Afraid of what he might say. Afraid of what I might learn. Instead, I called my daughter, Karen. She lived 2 hours away but answered on the third ring. Mom? It's 2 in the morning. What's wrong? Karen, I need you to come here. Now. Please. What happened? I can't explain over the phone. Just, please. Come. She heard the fear in my voice. I'm leaving right now. I hung up and sat there in the darkness, watching Emma and Tyler sleep, wondering what I'd just gotten us into. Karen arrived just after 4 in the morning. I heard her car pull up, and I met her at the door. She took one look at my face and knew something was terribly wrong. Mom, what happened? Are you okay? I pulled her inside and closed the door. The kids are asleep on the couch. Keep your voice down. She looked over at Emma and Tyler, then back at me. Why do you have the kids? Where's Kevin? I sat her down at the kitchen table and told her everything. About the late night call. About staying at Kevin and Amber's house. About what I saw through the window at 1 in the morning. Karen's face went pale. You saw them bury something? Like a body. I don't know what it was. But it was big. Heavy. Wrapped in plastic. And they were acting so strange. So secretive. Did you call the police? No. I didn't know what to tell them. What if I'm wrong? What if it's nothing and I destroy Kevin's life over a misunderstanding? Mom, you saw them bury something at 1 in the morning in the rain. That's not nothing. But what if there's an explanation? What if? My phone buzzed. A text from Kevin. Mom, where are you? The kids are gone. What's going on? My hand started shaking. Karen grabbed the phone from me and read the message. Don't answer, she said. Not yet. Another text came through. Mom, please. You're scaring me. Where are Emma and Tyler? Then another. If you don't answer me in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police and reporting the kids missing. Karen looked at me. He's threatening you. He's worried. I took his children in the middle of the night without telling him. You had a reason. But what if I'm wrong? Before I could stop her, Karen called 911. Yes, I'd like to report something suspicious. My brother and his wife were seen burying something large in their backyard at 1 in the morning. She gave them Kevin's address. Described what I'd seen. When she hung up, she looked at me. They're sending someone to check it out. I felt sick. Karen, what did you just do? What you were too scared to do. My phone rang. Kevin. I stared at it, frozen. Answer it, Karen said. Act normal. Picked up. Hello. Mom. Where are you? Where are the kids? They're with me. At my house. Why? What's going on? I just thought they could use a change of scenery. You and Amber seemed so stressed, I thought I'd give you a break. In the middle of the night? Without telling us. I'm sorry. I should have left a note. I wasn't thinking clearly. There was a pause. Then Kevin said something that made my blood run cold. What did you see, Mom? What? Don't lie to me. What did you see? My heart was pounding. I don't know what you mean. You were awake. At 1 a.m. I saw the guest room light on when we came back inside. You were watching us, weren't you? I didn't answer. Mom, I can explain. But I need you to bring the kids back. Right now. No. What? I'm not bringing them back. Not until you tell me what you were doing in the backyard. What was in that bag, Kevin? Silence. Long, terrible silence. Then he said, Mom, you don't understand. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. Another pause. I can't. Not over the phone. Please. Just bring the kids back and we'll talk. Face to face. I've already called the police, Kevin. I heard him gasp. You what? They're going to your house right now. To check the backyard. Mom, no. No. You shouldn't have done that. If there's nothing to hide, then it doesn't matter. You don't understand. You've ruined everything. The line went dead. I looked at Karen. She grabbed my hand. You did the right thing. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Margaret Foster? Yes. This is Officer Ramirez with the Portland Police Department. We're at your son's residence. We need you to come down here. Now. My stomach dropped. What did you find? Ma'am, I can't discuss that over the phone. But we need to speak with you. Are the children with you? Yes. Keep them there. We're sending an officer to your location. Don't let anyone else in the house until they arrive. Do you understand? Yes. But please tell me. What did you find? We found something in the backyard, ma'am. And your son and his wife are being detained for questioning. The room started spinning. Karen caught me before I fell. A police officer arrived at my house within 15 minutes. Her name was Officer Chen. She was young, maybe in her 30s, with kind eyes. She sat with me and Karen in the kitchen while Emma and Tyler continued sleeping on the couch. Mrs. Foster, I need to ask you some questions about what you saw tonight. I told her everything. Every detail. The digging. The bag. The way Kevin and Amber had acted. She took notes carefully, nodding occasionally. And you're certain about the size and shape of what you saw? Yes. It looked like it could have been a person. But I don't know for sure. Officer Chun closed her notebook. Mrs. Foster, we excavated the area you described. We found the bag. My heart stopped. And? What was in it? She looked at me carefully. It wasn't a body. Relief flooded through me so fast I felt dizzy. It wasn't. No, ma'am. It was money. A lot of money. Cash. Wrapped in plastic. About $200,000. I stared at her. Money. Karen grabbed my hand. Why would they bury money? Officer Chun hesitated. Your son and daughter-in-law are cooperating with us. They've explained the situation. And honestly, Mrs. Foster, it's complicated. Tell me, please. She took a breath. Your daughter-in-law, Amber, was involved in something before she met your son. Something illegal. She worked for a man who ran a fraudulent investment scheme. She was his assistant. When the operation got shut down 5 years ago, Amber managed to hide a portion of the money before the authorities seized everything. She's been hiding it ever since. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Amber is a criminal? She was never charged. She cooperated with investigators and testified against her former employer. In exchange, she got immunity, but she kept the money she'd hidden. Your son found out about it a few months ago. And he didn't turn her in? No. He convinced her they needed to get rid of it, that keeping it was too dangerous. They've been planning to bury it and leave it there until enough time passed that they could safely dispose of it or donate it anonymously. Karen shook her head. That's insane. It's also illegal, Officer Chin said. Keeping stolen money, even if you weren't the one who stole it initially, is still a crime. Your son knew that. But he was trying to protect his wife. I felt tears burning my eyes. He lied to me. For months. He kept me away from the kids because he didn't want me to find out. The children are safe, Mrs. Foster. They were never in any danger. Your son and daughter-in-law love them. They were just making very poor choices. What happens now? They're both being charged with possession of stolen property and obstruction of justice. They'll likely face fines and possibly probation. The money will be seized and returned to the victims of the original fraud. And Child Protective Services will need to evaluate the home situation before the children can return. So the kids stay with me? For now, yes. Until this is sorted out. Officer Chun left about an hour later. Karen and I sat in silence for a long time. I can't believe this, I finally said. Kevin. My Kevin. He's always been so good. So honest. He was trying to protect someone he loves, Karen said quietly. That doesn't make it right. But it makes it human. Later that morning, Kevin called. He sounded broken. Mom, I'm so sorry. For everything. Kevin, how could you do this? How could you keep this from me? How could you put your children in this situation? I thought I was fixing it. I thought if I just buried the money and pretended it didn't exist, we could move on. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. You should have told me. You should have gone to the police. I know. I didn't want to lose Amber. I didn't want the kids to lose their mother. And now you might lose all of us anyway. He started crying. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry. I was angry, hurt, betrayed. But he was still my son. And I still loved him. The kids are safe with me, I said. For as long as they need to be. You focus on fixing this mess. And Kevin. Yeah. Tell the truth. About everything. No more lies. No more secrets. You owe that to your children. I will. I promise. Over the next few weeks, the legal process unfolded. Kevin and Amber were charged. They both pleaded guilty. Amber received probation and community service. Kevin received probation and a fine. The judge was lenient because they'd cooperated fully and because of the children. But the damage was done. Emma and Tyler stayed with me for 2 months while Kevin and Amber went through mandatory counseling and parenting classes. During that time, the kids slowly started opening up about what they'd experienced. They hadn't been abused, but they'd sensed the tension, the fear, the secrets. Kids always know when something's wrong, even if they can't name it. When it was finally time for them to go home, Emma hugged me tight. I don't want to leave, Grandma. I know, sweetheart. But your mom and dad are ready now. They've learned from their mistakes. And I'll visit you all the time. I promise. Kevin came to pick them up. He looked different. Thinner. Older. But also somehow lighter. Like he'd been carrying a weight and finally put it down. Thank you, Mom, he said. For everything. For protecting them. For not giving up on me. I'll always protect them. And I'll never give up on you. But Kevin, if you ever lie to me again, I won't. I swear. No more secrets. He kept that promise. Over the next year, things slowly got better. Kevin and Amber rebuilt their lives. They were honest with the kids in age-appropriate ways about the mistakes they'd made. And our family began to heal. It's been 3 years now since that terrible night when I looked out the window and saw my son burying a bag in the backyard. 3 years since I grabbed my grandchildren and ran. Emma's 10 now. Tyler is 8. They're happy, healthy kids. They see a therapist sometimes just to make sure they're processing everything in a healthy way. But mostly they're just normal kids who love dinosaurs and princesses and playing in the backyard, the same backyard where everything changed. Kevin and Amber are still together. They've worked hard to rebuild trust with each other, with the kids, and with me. Amber told me the whole story one afternoon over coffee. About how young and stupid she'd been when she worked for that fraudster. About how terrified she'd been when the operation got shut down. About how she'd convinced herself that keeping the money was somehow justified because she'd been used and manipulated too. I was wrong, she said, tears in her eyes. I know that now. And I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of our mess. I forgave her. Not because what she did was okay, but because holding on to anger wasn't helping anyone. And because I could see she genuinely changed. Kevin comes to see me every Sunday now. Sometimes with the whole family. Sometimes just him. We talk about everything, work, the kids' life. But we also talk about that night. About the choices he made. About the lies he told. I thought I was protecting everyone, he said once. But I was really just protecting myself. From the truth. From the consequences. I was a coward, Mom. You were scared. But you learned from it. That's what matters. He's a better father now. More present. more honest. The kids know they can come to him with anything. And he's teaching them something I never could. That mistakes don't define you, but how you handle them does. I think about that night often. About the fear I felt when I saw that bag. About the decision I made to take the kids and run. And I know I did the right thing. Because here's what I've learned. When something feels wrong, when every instinct in your body is screaming at you to protect the people you love, you listen. You act. You don't wait for permission or proof or certainty. You trust yourself. I trusted myself that night. And it saved my grandchildren from living in a house filled with secrets and fear. It forced Kevin and Amber to face the truth. Changed everything. If you're reading this or listening to this, and you're in a situation where you sense something's wrong, where your gut is telling you someone you love is in danger, please listen to that voice. It's there for a reason. You might be wrong. You might misunderstand. But you might also be right. And being right could save a life. Could save a family. I was terrified that night. I second-guessed myself 100 times. But I chose my grandchildren. I chose safety over comfort. Truth over pretending. And I'd make the same choice again in a heartbeat. My son made terrible mistakes. But he's not a terrible person. He's a person who made bad choices when he was scared. And he spent 3 years making better ones. That's what redemption looks like. Not perfection. Just progress. Just trying. Just choosing truth over lies. Even when the truth is hard. Emma asked me recently, "Grandma, why did you take us away that night?" I knelt down and looked her in the eyes. Because I love you. And sometimes, loving someone means protecting them. Even when it's scary. Are we safe now? Yes, sweetheart. We're all safe now. Yes, sweetheart. We're all safe now. And we are. Not because the danger was real, it wasn't. But because we faced the truth together. Because we chose honesty over secrets. Because we chose each other. What I saw at 1 in the morning in that backyard changed everything. But it didn't break us. It made us stronger. More honest. More real. I'm Margaret Foster. I'm 64 years old. I'm a mother, a grandmother, and a woman who learned that protecting the people you love sometimes means making the hardest choices of your life. And I wouldn't change a thing.